What's going on, everybody? Making a video, and it's been a while. Had I don't know, stuff going on. So, sitting in the car at work, and you can see behind me I have natural lighting. So I'm not using the dome light here in the car, and there's some light behind me makes it more visible. I guess I'm just gonna kind of meander on here. I don't really know what to talk about. There's some topics that I want to talk about, but I don't think that I've got the right equipment right now to give the topics that I want to talk about some justice. So I'm gonna hold off on that. I mean, I know that I've got 2 subscribers on here. One person, I know you very well. The other person, I can't figure out who that other subscriber is because I'm not I use YouTube a lot, but I've not created very much content. I've uploaded videos, but I've not done this a lot. So if more people come along and I can grow this channel, tell me what you think as far as what you want to see, what you want to hear me talk about, any topics that you have questions about. I think I've covered the big topics as far as when someone gets arrested or the food they have, the types of things they can do when they go to prison. But I know there's a lot of other things out there that I could talk about, but I guess I kind of want some guidance or some input. A lot of people, when they get out of prison, they can have different attitudes about society. And so I guess I'll make this video about reentry, kind of a topic as I go. But, when someone's arrested, I used to think that if someone was arrested, then they were guilty. Whatever they were charged with, they were guilty. And going through the system myself, that's not always true. And there was a case here recently where 4 young men were charged with murder and assault. They were arrested and charged preliminarily with those serious charges, and an attorney contacted the police and released those 4 people because they were innocent. They hadn't really disclosed what that evidence was, but they had some pretty compelling evidence in order to get all 4 of those men released, and they were innocent of those charges. That's as of today. That may change. They may get some more evidence later on. It may not have been as strong. I'm not sure what the particulars were, but people tend to believe in the sanctity. I call it the sanctity of a charge or of a conviction. But a lot of people don't really understand or agree with or accept the possibility that someone can go through a situation like that, be arrested, and can change. And it kind of runs the gamut. I think you've got different degrees of that. You've got people that are in a situation where they're in a state of addiction and they make choices, and those choices result in crimes, burglaries or thefts or other things like that. And if they get off, the underlying issue is the addiction. If you can get out of the addiction and get some help with that, they're not as likely to commit those crimes. You have people that are they get into an extremely emotional situation. An example I think about is several people that I was in prison with. They were in prison for either killing their spouse or killing someone their spouse or girlfriend or significant other was in the middle of being with, if you get what I'm saying. They were intimately involved, and this person came home and saw that and was in an extreme emotional state and acted. It's illegal, but there's some exemptions and some exceptions in the law that's not really treated, as a premeditated murder. It's the heat of passion. It's second-degree murder in some places they call it, and it just depends. But and they're in there, and it's likely that if they ever got out, they would never do anything ever again, unless they got cheated on again, and then they might cause some problems, obviously. But you get my point. You have other people that, because of the nature of what they're in jail or prison for, it's highly likely, and statistics back it up, that they're going to do those things again. People like child molesters, people that have an addiction and commit property crimes. Property crimes have some of the highest recidivism rates, across the country. And the last research that I read is that actually surprisingly violent offenders and sexual offenders have the lowest recidivism rate. But when someone who's a sex offender commits a new crime or does the new crime consistent with what they've done before, it's pretty well known about, and it should be. It shouldn't happen. I have some different personal feelings about those types of cases, but the point is that when you have a statistic like 95% of people that are released from prison, 95% of people that are arrested or in prison are released. So you have about 5% that are actually staying in prison for life, or they're executed, or what have you. It's pretty sobering numbers. You have lots of people that are going to be getting released from prison, and you have to have a place for them to go, something for them to do. And it's not like they're children that need to be babysat. They need to have resources. And I think a lot of places, some more than others, make efforts to allow that to happen or to encourage that with the knowledge that's going to happen. But I think they could do better. I think the states could do better. I think society could do better, because that's the whole problem, is that in a lot of places, when you're arrested and you're convicted and you're charged, or you're convicted of something, a crime, a felony, whatever, then society looks at you different once they found out about you, whether it's in jobs, in housing. I've been told by places that I make enough income for that we can't let you live here because you're a convicted felon. And that's not illegal for them to do that. I mean, you look at the court's opinion about discrimination and what that is and isn't, and it's, to my understanding, it's not discrimination, but to me it is. It may not be legally discrimination, but I think when you tell someone you're otherwise qualified but for this, you can't live here or you can't work here. And then there's some obvious common sense ties there. If you have someone that's a sex offender, there's no issue, going to be no issue anywhere with saying they can't work at a school or daycare, etc. But beyond that, I think there needs to be a little bit more suspicion from courts and from places that look at those kinds of cases and situations. But when people are released, a lot of times they're released with the money they have in their inmate account at the time. And I know when I was released, I had a pair of shorts that I was issued or given by the state, and a t-shirt. And it was in June of 2015. So it was warm. And, that was all the real clothes that I had, because you couldn't wear the prison clothes out. They don't give you a chance or the ability to get clothes shipped in for your release. And then you go out with whatever skills and training you've had up until that point, and you're expected to thrive and survive and do well. And I've been very thankful in that I've met people and had people influence me and help me with things, mentally, physically, whatever. Other people don't have that. Other people are released and they don't have any support. They don't have any family. They don't have any, organizations that are willing to help them and go out of their way to help them, which is what I've had happen in my life and my experience. But I think society could do better with reentry. I mean, and there's a bunch of issues that relate into it: healthcare, psychology, addiction, criminal thinking and behavior, support services and social workers, and a bunch of other things that go into it. But I think on the whole, society could do better, because the recidivism rate is very high. And you have people that are getting out and are continually going through that cycle. And while some may look at them and say, well, that's their choice to continue to go in and out of prison. Yeah, but the people that are released from prison, to an extent, I guess, are products of their environment. They're a product of an environment that gave you a pair of shorts and $7. And can you really be too upset with the result of that effort, that, very small effort to give someone the tools they need? Now, they should have been preparing before they were released. I get that, but different things happen. People aren't willing or able or wanting to do that. Things happen, but I think society can. I'm not trying to cry and say that society should give everyone that's released from prison $5,000 a month and a new house. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. But I think people need to change their attitudes about people when they're released from prison, and they could do better at approaching people that are released from prison, because we have different attitudes towards certain things, and I guess that's it. I don't think that you should give someone a crutch or enable someone who isn't willing to stand up on their own. But I think that you can't also expect someone that you've handicapped, arguably, to be able to thrive in a society that from the very beginning of when you're arrested, let alone when you're released, they make it very clear, this is how I feel and how I've been made to feel. They make it very clear that they don't want you. So some people choose to survive and thrive in spite of that, and others choose to get brought down by that attitude. And it's a matter of what you do. But I don't think society really has it fair when it comes to when someone's released, what they do and how they're expected to look at someone that's been released from prison. And not everyone's released from prison is released from a good sentence or from a good place. You know, you got people that are released basically after living in a gas station bathroom for 5 years that are released straight from segregation. And, you know, how fair is that? So my life's disappearing. I think I've talked enough about this topic, and I'll continue to try to post some more videos. If you have any thoughts or input, please put them down in the comments of this video or in other videos that you may see, or send me a message and I'll try to respond back. Thank you very much.